Happy to have you aboard here for the Really Big Barbecue Show.
Boing. We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me!
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude!
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 54 wieners.
But listen, Libertius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
And just like that, we are into the second hour. It is the Barbecue Central show where we talk about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling. This show originates from
Palm City, USA, Cleveland.
Still to come on the show this evening, 2023 Barbecue Central show's guest Hall of Famer Ed Maurin. Give the origin story of Fast Eddy. We say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our video streaming platforms. You can go to Facebook, Facebook and X tonight. Actually, somebody jaunt on over to the X and make sure that the live feed is up and then report back in the instant chat. It should be. Let's just make sure. Why not? So Facebook and X currently, that's / or at BBQ Central Show, depending on the platform you're going to watch at. You can also watch over on YouTube, which is youtube.com / at BBQ Central Show. We have a YouTube poll question of the week, which has been going back and forth at a feverish pitch. I'm asking everybody the bigger ongoing news story of 2023, Memphis in May or KCBS scoring issues. And currently 53% of you are saying it's Memphis in May. So while the majority of the first hour saw KCBS scoring issues taking the lead in that respect, Memphis in May has made a big swing, especially after we got done with the Malcolm and Heath Ryle segment. And you know what? Please, I beg of you, save the emails about how good Malcolm sounded and how Heath sounded like he was in a room. Next time, we'll sound check. I promise he had the microphone there. It was all working before, but I'm not going to... I know that time was ill-budgeted, and I had a lot of questions that I wanted to get through, and as it was, we had to run over a little bit, so I wasn't going to be messing around. Will I break my own rules from time to time? Yes. Why? Because I live in hypocrisy. That's what I do. That's me, remember? I am a contradictor living in the state of hypocrisy. In the city of contradiction. That's me. Anyway, 53% saying Memphis in May. And that quickly started to roll back when we got done with Malcolm and Heath's segment. So, yeah, let's see how that rolls. The rest will be anxious to hear what Fast Eddy has to say about that. Coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central show in 10 minutes or less this coming Friday, episode 311, taking you back to December 1st, 2009. Being featured this week is Barbecue Central Show's guest Hall of Famer and the original creator of Barbecue Pitmaster series, John Marcus. We're going back now, 2009. In this segment, we are actually going back to when Pitmasters, Barbecue Pitmasters, which, by the way, I said like 2 or 3 weeks ago that that's a show that you can still see on television. I just saw a commercial for it. Is it on True TV? Whatever the Impractical Jokers are on. I saw a commercial for it on that channel. Now, I don't know if they were promoting it because it's on that cable channel or not, if it was going to be somewhere else, and they were buying time on another station to promote it, whatever. The bottom line is this. Barbecue Pitmasters is going to be on this weekend. So it is still being shown. It is still popular. But we are going back to the time when Barbecue Pitmasters was being released for the very first time, December of 2009. And as I think about it, why in the sweet hell was a TV channel deciding to release a barbecue show in the middle of winter? So weird when you think about it. However, it didn't diminish the amount of buzz that was going around the industry back then, how excited everyone was to have the industry exposed to the mass public. And really, this is the show that caused what I call the golden era of barbecue that I mention every so often on the show, with John Marcus. And without this show, we have known of what we had in the past five. Without this show, we would not have known what we do in this last 5 to 8 year stretch, maybe 10 years at this point, because I think Pitmasters made it 11 seasons. I don't think that goes calendar years. I think sometimes, depending on how a show actually shoots, you could have 3 seasons inside of a calendar year. However, that doesn't change the fact that 11 seasons of Barbecue Pitmasters in some form or fashion actually happened. So if you aren't familiar with John, or you're not familiar with Barbecue Pitmasters, this is a great way to get acquainted with both. By the way, once again, Barbecue Pitmasters is going to be on television this coming weekend. I was going to say, still plays routinely on cable TV, but yeah, I mean, so routinely that it's going to be this coming weekend. I don't know why this coming weekend, but it is. Actually, when you come to think about it, what are the odds of this time? It's the 5th now, the 7th, the 8th. So Saturday, if they start playing it Saturday, it will be the 14th year anniversary of when it was launched. Look at my math. Chad, I'm glad you tuned back into this show so you can see that my arithmetic skills are still second to none, pal. I am sharp. Let me plus or minus a number. I can also times it and divisional all day long, twice on Sunday. You can subscribe to the show by visiting thebbqcentralshow.com/subscribe. And by show, I mean the best of show, but also replays of this show. And if you want to hear a past guest or segment again that you think has been lost in the archives, email John, Jon, at thebbqcentralshow.com and let him know what you would like to hear. This particular piece of gold is something, where did I see it? Oh, yeah. Let me pull, I got to go all the way down to my thing here. Now, you know this guy. This is John Solberg right here. Let me make sure I get that out. I watched this video. I don't know, 1,000 times the other day. Passed it along to everybody I knew. I was like, this is insane. It's the best video. You know it's a good video when you watch it the first time and you're like, wow. And then you watch it again. And then like the 3rd and 10th time, you're laughing incredibly hard. But every time you're playing through it, and this video I'm about to show you is like 15 seconds long tops. There's so many things going on. There's so much nuance that you can go back and listen to it like 700 times and you're picking out new things each and every time. I'm telling you, it's fantastic. If you didn't see it or I didn't share it with you on Instagram for whatever reason, don't be offended. Just take a watch and a listen to this. Let me make sure I got the sound off there. Got the sound on here. I apologize if it's coming in hot. Let me go down here to, what number is this? 53. I'm going to pull down the sound a little bit, just a little bit, because what they say in this is key. Just check this out.
Be careful, please, Jesus.
All right, now look. If you're watching, you can follow along. Immediately, you see we got issues. If you're listening, number one, go back. This is something you're going to want to see on video replay, but I'm going to try and paint a picture for you. Here it is. What do we tell you not to do on Thanksgiving? Don't boil your fucking turkeys. Don't do it. It's dangerous. It's trouble. Disaster waiting to happen. You name it. It's very bad. Here's an instance right off the bat that you know things are amuck, and this is where the general public decides to take advantage of you, the proper human, and move ahead with their nonsense and shenanigans. What's the first thing you notice? People in the chat, what's the first thing you notice here? His pot of oil is already on fire. There's nothing in there except oil, and it's on fire. And he's got a turkey hovering over it. Now, to me, that's a danger sign. I'm not putting that turkey in. I'm not going to do it. Nevertheless.
Hold that. Now light it up. Oh my God, the fire! You fucking die!
I mean,
Every time I say
there's
something.
nothing better. There's nothing better than that. You saw how quickly that video went from we're going to have a good time to the house is burning down. Did you hear the lady in the background? She's praying that nothing bad happens, number one. Then you hear the girl in the background when he starts to lower the turkey down into the oil. The light him up. And then what? Inside of 2 seconds, everybody's sprinting back into the house, which probably wasn't the best idea anyway, because now that house is probably on fire. If you missed it, it's this again. I mean, look, it's already on fire. The oil is already on fire. But let's press ahead. He's much smarter than the average human.
Hold that.
Light him up.
Light it up.
She's laughing. And now the whore.
You fucking die!
The lady's swearing up and down. The one that was like, oh, be careful. Now she's F-bombing this. The kid that was singing Imagine Dragons or whatever the hell the song is quickly went from laughing to like gasping. One more time because I know you want to see it. Listen for everything that's happening here.
Jesus. Hold that. Now light it up. Oh my God, the fire! You fucking die!
Every time I say
I'm
something
telling you.
about deep frying turkeys, my comments fill up with, they're not doing it right. And I hate to tell you, Captain Obvious, you're correct.
You're right. John, you are right. Wow. I could play that thing for the rest of the show. Let's all agree on this before we go to Fast Eddy. Don't do it. Don't deep fry your turkeys. Stupid. Number 2, if you're going to do it anyway, all right, you're a grown person. You make your own decisions. If you fire up your cauldron of oil and it's on fire, first, please don't continue ahead with dropping the turkey in the oil at that point. Like, that's a visual cue for you to know you should not be putting anything in that. It's on fire. It shouldn't be on fire. But you go ahead and, as we say, you do you, boo. You drop that turkey in there. You show them who the boss is. That's right. Hope your house is good. Because as you were running away, you pulled that whole thing over. It was on fire. Now we have a fireball of oil coming into the house. Oh, the fire! Listen up, gang. Sterling Ball over at Big Papa Smokers has something special just for you, listeners of the show. Whether you're a seasoned pitmaster or a grilling newbie, Big Papa Smokers, your one-stop shop for all things barbecue. From their championship rubs, mouth-watering sauces, essential accessories, they've got what you need to take your food to the next level, whether you're on the competition circuit or you're in the backyard. Here's the cherry on top. Big Papa Smokers is offering the listeners of the Barbecue Central show an exclusive deal, and you know what it is. Use the code REMPE at checkout. That's R-E-M as in Michael, P as in Peter, E. You'll get $10 off your next $50 purchase of rubs, sauces, or essential accessories. Imagine the possibilities. Let me paint a picture. Evaluate your ribs with Big Papa's Sweet Money. Add Big Papa's Desert Gold to your chicken, or better yet, pick up Big Papa's Double Secret. Add it to your steak. Winner. Head on over to BigPapaSmokers.com and start shopping today. And start now for the holiday season. Why? Because you can give the gift of deliciousness, and you can give yourself the gift of saving cash. Because you can use promo code REMPE, R-E-M-P-E, at checkout and claim $10 off your next order of $50 or more. That means $50 is really $40. That means $100 is really $80. You can do the math. I know you can. When I tell you, Chad, I'm sharp. Promo code REMPE, R-E-M-P-E, at BigPapaSmokers.com. Save $10 off your next order of $50 or more. Don't forget to check out Big Papa's full line of recipes at cookingwithbigpapa.com and follow them on social media, of course. We are back with the origin story of Fast Eddy. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet, available in 3 sizes, a host of accessories. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner or a professional, it's a cooker you want to add to the arsenal. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you. My next guest is one of the pellet cooker pioneers, creating the very popular FE line of cookers. What you might not know about him is he is an avid dirt race car driver. Pellets, fire, horsepower, all make sense to me. He's been appearing on the show since it was in podcast-only form. How long ago was that? How about dating back to 2007, if you can believe it? And this October, he became one of the 5 past guests to be included in the 2023 Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Fame. I couldn't be more excited to welcome back our pal, Fast Eddy. Eddy, before we get going here this evening, we have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody, and it's this, and we'd love to get your answer on it. The bigger ongoing barbecue news story of 2023, is it Memphis in May, or is it the KCBS scoring issue?
Wow, that is that.
Only hard-hitting questions here on the Barbecue Central Show.
Well, those are you're hitting those 2 right on the head. I'm gonna pick the scoring issue.
Oh, while that was in the early lead in hour number 1, Memphis in May has steadily gained steam. They're currently in the lead with being the biggest story. Memphis in May at 55%, 45%. Saying KCBS and the associated scoring issues are the biggest story of 2023, and we'll see how that goes for the rest of the evening here. So, congratulations on getting into the Guest Hall of Fame. I guess before we get to know all about Eddy and doing the origin story thing, is there any speech or any type of dissertation that you would like to give on how your life has changed over the last few weeks since making it into the Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Fame?
Wow, it's been it's quite an honor to get this, and the beautiful ring that you sent is top notch. I don't have to carry brass knuckles anymore in my pocket for safety.
That's right.
I just wear my ring. It's a massive, but no, to pioneer the podcast world like you did in barbecue, it's fantastic. I remember doing the brisket round table, and that was a big, that was a real popular topic back in the day, and you had some great people on there, and I was truly honored to be, been a guest in the early days, and congratulations on all your success and keeping it going and improving it every year. So it's fantastic. You're setting the mark.
That brisket roundtable, Eddy, is still routinely one of the most downloaded shows over the history of the show. I mean, we're going on 16 years of live shows, and then 2 years before that as podcast. When you did it, as you'd mentioned, this was just the podcast at that point. It was you, it was Dr. Barbecue, who's also in the Guest Hall of Fame. It was Leanne Whippen, who made it into the Guest Hall of Fame last year, and then Jim Minion, who I think it's a travesty that his name has probably been lost in the annals of barbecue here, but talk about 3-4 of the biggest names in barbecue back at that time, and still seem to be names of revelry as we talk about, where barbecue has grown over the years. But man, talk about, here's the thing I took away from the 2007. Everybody on that panel took a shit on Wagyu beef. And look where we are today, Eddie.
Well, you're right. I think we were a lot poorer back then than we are today. So maybe that made a difference.
All right, Eddie. So let's go ahead and do the origin story of Ed Maurin, and let's start where everybody starts, in the very beginning. When were you born? Where were you born?
I was born in 1959 in Kansas City, Missouri. This is my hometown. And I come from a family of 5 kids. And my dad made a living when he finally settled down and figured out what he was going to do in his life, which was right about the time I was born. He was a welder for Kenworth KW Dart Truck Company. So my grandfather taught him how to do that. So it was kind of in my, metalworking. He always had something around the house. So that became a big part of my life too. We were too poor to buy stuff, so I had to learn how to build everything that I wanted, which was good. I mean, it was the heritage, that helped me figure out what to do. I was not good with books.
As you were growing up, before school and all that stuff, what do you remember family life being like for you, especially being, 5 siblings?
It was rather lots of fun. I mean, there's always something going on. My mom and dad told the story. When I was 2, they had me a little pedal car, and we had a big front porch on the house, and I would go as fast as I could from one side of the porch to the other. So speed was in my life real early on. And then it was, I wouldn't trade it for anything, because we did everything we wanted to do. And as far as playing with kids and riding bikes and showing up back home when the street lights came on. I mean, all that stuff that you hear out there, it's exactly how we grew up. It was a great time.
What kind of a relationship?
Didn't have a lot of money, but we didn't know we were poor, so it just didn't matter.
What kind of a relationship do you have with your siblings growing up?
Not too bad. Kind of rivalry with my brother, because he was only 2 years younger than me. So he was always, on my coattails doing stuff. So if I was in scouts, he was in scouts. They try to move him up. So we kind of did things together, which was, I kind of like my own identity at times, instead of having to, like dragging the little brother around all the time. But, but then I had 3 sisters, and I had 2 older sisters, which you're not able to, I didn't ever connect with them as well, because they were quite a bit older than I got. My oldest sister's 5 years older than me, and my other one, she's 3 years older than me. So, or 3 to 4. But, just a hardworking Catholic family.
Your parents stay together?
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. They've been together. And I'll tell you what, every one of my siblings married, or none of them have ever divorced neither. I just, turned 44 years in marriage this year.
Wow.
So, that's something to be said, from our background.
What kind of a relationship do you recall having with your parents as you're growing up?
Didn't get to see my dad a lot. He worked 2 to 3 jobs.
Wow.
So if I seen him, it was on Sunday, and then when I got in my early teens, I actually went to work with him on Saturday. There was a guy that had a trailer business, and he rented out diesel or big semi trailers, and then they would do maintenance on them, on Saturdays. And so I was kind of a yard grunt. He'd go there and go around and check lights and thump tires and get water off of tarps. And, that was my first learning. I think I was like 13 years old when I started doing that with my dad.
Do you like doing that because this is time that you're going to get to spend with your dad, or are you bummed out that this is the only way you're going to be able to spend some time with your dad?
No, it was great to try to learn, get some work ethic and understand what his life was about. It was nice to get some pocket money, knowing because they didn't have the money just to hand out to us when we wanted stuff. So it was pretty cool to, start developing that working relationship with people. And I think that was huge in my life, being able to do those kinds of things. Because even as of today, I still work all the time. I'm doing what I want to do when I want to do it, but I'm always doing something moving forward, and I just totally enjoy it.
What's the food scene like at your house as you're growing up?
Oh boy. Fridays, you can just about bet you're going to have to eat salmon patties.
Salmon patties?
Oh yeah, fish for Fridays. On the Catholics,
okay.
And it was like a steady diet of salmon patties or fish sticks. Back in the day, Sundays were a lot of fried chicken on Sundays. It was kind of the normal thing, and you could feed a lot of people. Pretty reasonable. We never went out to eat much. My grandfather helped my dad build a brick barbecue pit at our house. And he was not real great with it, but he did manage to cook some decent ribs. It was a grilled rib. And then, of course, burgers and stuff like that basically was it. So it was always kind of a spectacle when he fired up that brick cooker and he made a stainless steel lid for it. So that was pretty cool. But that was about the basis of it. We were never much in the culinary scene of things when you're just trying to feed 5 kids. And,
Do you recall when he's lighting up that pit, did that give you a spark or any inspiration at that young age that maybe you would be into live fire at any point?
No, not at that time. Really, it was kind of interesting to see it, when he fired it up. But we never did any kind of offset type cooking. It was mostly grilling, is really what it was. We never really did any offset cooking until the part of the story when he had a neighbor a couple of doors up the street. Dad was known to be kind of the metal guy and a welder in the neighborhood, and or fix things and kind of make things. And he would make basketball goals and things to make extra money for the household there. He was always doing something, obviously. And anyway, the neighbor came down and he wanted a smoker built. And well, what's that? And he had a old camping trailer frame. It was with an axle, and then he had a 500-gallon diesel tank. And then he wanted to build this offset kind of cooking thing. He was one of the original members of the Kansas City Barbecue Society.
Wow.
And his name was Neil Van Hoosier is his name. And so that's what the spark was. That was like 1985, 86, right in there is when that was.
Are you someone in high school that enjoyed those years?
I loved them.
Yeah. How were you as a student?
I was awful. But I enjoyed the social aspect of it, the friends that I had. We had my senior year, I went to it was cooperative occupational education. So I only went to school for 3 hours, and the rest of the day I went to work. At that time I was working at a service station, and it was they taught you in the COE class. They taught you real live things that you were going to have to do, like how to balance a checkbook, and your supervisor at work would fill out some things, questionnaire for them, and that teacher, Don Robbins, I'm still friends with him to today. And he definitely brought tears to my eyes the other day, because Don went to work for some companies, and I ended up making some parts for him, fabricating some stuff. And then also got to, talk to Don. And he was actually for a company that ended up getting into the food truck business. And so I was pretty deep in a lot of things way back before stuff started going, and built some tank stuff for him, and how they were doing some water systems. And anyway, Don posted a thing up. He says, one of the only students that taught me more than I taught him.
Wow.
And it just blew me away. When you got one of your favorite teachers in school to say that about you was pretty special to me.
As you finish up high school, are you looking to go to college, or are you just looking to go to work?
Oh no, I'm not a college guy.
No.
I was looking to go make a living, and I actually ended up going to work at it was about 3 or 4 months after I graduated high school. Kenworth Truck Company didn't hire relatives, and they changed that policy. And I actually got hired at Kenworth Truck Company down at the factory. And so then I became a utility welder for Kenworth after about a year. And I went to some night classes besides what my dad taught me, and got my certifications on things. And so, I was following in the family footsteps of that kind of background. And man, you talk about a fun job. We were pretty wild. I had a hot rod pickup, and I actually got married at age 20, and my wife was 19 at the time. Well, she was only 19 for about another week before her birthday. But we married extremely early, and but life was a party and tons of fun, and it was basically, staying sideways and 100 miles an hour. That's what life was about.
So your welding was there any other job or career that you lusted after a little bit and was able to attain, or did you just want to, work to provide the lifestyle you wanted to lead?
Well, yeah, my goals I didn't have these specific goals, Kenworth moved out of town in 1983. They started having a reduction in workforce. And so I started working at different shops. That was probably one of the best educations I had, because I learned how to do a whole variety of different things. I ended up working as a millwright for a while. That was a great education. And everybody I worked for, I ended up becoming pretty wanted. If I needed a job or something, or I'd leave a job, they'd always say, if you ever need employment, you call me first. And I always enjoyed that part of it. I enjoyed I enjoyed making stuff. I enjoyed being productive. I didn't cry the blues about things. I always attacked anything I went after. And I felt like that having that mentality was always a good deal. And then that kind of drove me when my wife's family, he's a Kansas City firefighter. My father-in-law was. And that's what, and then where I moved to, our second house we moved to, I moved across the street from a chief of the Kansas City Fire Department. And at that time I was working for a tunneling company, and I ended up being a supervisor for this tunneling company. and doing roadborne and tunnels. And the those guys, their attitude, one day they're rich and the next day they're broke, and you need them. You had to call a certain bar to get them. You never knew what they were going to be like. And so I kind of got fed up with them. And I said, you know what? I think I'll go down and apply at the fire department. I said that at least I'll have a pension at the end of it, and I can make up the difference because I made a lot of money. And I said, I can make up the difference on my days off. So that's what got me to go to the Kansas City Fire Department and get on there. I was 28 years old when I got on the fire department. Kind of almost too old. 30 is all the age they would take you to.
How long do you stay a firefighter?
In my 20th year, I ended up in my second back surgery, and that's when they pensioned me off. I'm kind of bummed out about how they did it, but they said I went and after my second surgery, I went through work hardening and actually went back. They put me back to duty for 2 weeks, and then I got a phone call from my BC, and he said, "Hey, I got to put you back off on light duty. You didn't pass all your test." And there was one segment of my test that was very, very close to being susceptible. Everything you have to do weight-wise as a firefighter, minimum is 100 pounds. So this test they test you out at, it's about 4 hours long, and they make you do all kinds of stuff. And it was the knuckled overhead lift that got me where that pain shot down my foot from my first surgery and buckled my leg when I was going overhead with this milk crate that had these tubes of shot in it to set up on a shelf. And I don't know how much was in it, but anyway, so they send me to a pension doctor, and she says, "Gosh, this is so close. I don't see why you shouldn't keep, working."
Yeah.
And so I waited for 2 weeks for her letter, and I'll be darned if she said 180 degrees. She did 180 degrees from what she told me. She hammered me.
Oh.
And so then they pensioned me off. I was pretty PO'd and bent about it, but I wasn't going to go to the point of hiring a lawyer, to stay on the job because the union wasn't doing it. And of course, all the union dues I paid, union wasn't doing anything for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I had barbecue going real well by that time too. And a lot of people, why do you want to stay on that job? You really got life going on. And it's the culture of the fire department back in that day anyway. It was definitely something, just loved it. I absolutely loved that job. And of course I'm an adrenaline junkie. I wouldn't be off-road racing, and I wouldn't have done everything I did in my life if I wasn't an adrenaline junkie. And that I just love the idea of when that bell went off, you had no clue what you were going to be getting into. And we got into some pretty tight situations, and my wife always says, she goes, you just don't get excited about nothing. Well, when you've been there and done it and seen it about, dead on many different occasions, and you don't come home and tell those stories, to anybody. It's a very special career. I loved it. I just loved it.
What was the most harrowing call that you can remember?
Probably, I was a battalion chief's aide for 3 years, and it was on a Sunday. And, when people were off, we moved people up in class and moved them around in different seats and stuff. And actually my chief that I was his aide, he was off, and I had this guy that was a captain on 17 Pumper. He was riding out as the chief. And anyway, so we had a storm coming in town, and it's about on a Sunday afternoon, and we catch a regular alarm at a house. And I knew this neighborhood like the back of my hand. And these are big 3-story houses. And the aerial truck they sent us had a non-working aerial. And we pulled out of the station, starting to thunder and lightning like crazy. And I told John, I said, "John, I said, we need a working truck. I said, these are big ass houses where we're going. We need to get 2 truck rolling. And John didn't do it. He would not, anytime I suggested something to him, this guy, he just, well, first of all, I don't think he really liked my driving that much. So I think he's just nervous as hell, number one, hanging on for dear life, too. And I'm telling John, I said, we need to get the deuce rolling. And so we get to this house, and sure enough, we got fire coming out this attic window. And so I'm putting my gear on, and I yell at the guy that's driving the pumper. He's a firefighter from 31s. And I said, don't charge this line till I tell you. Because I know you got these stairwells that are real tight on the sides of these houses. And I wanted to take a dry line up that stairwell. So here's the 7 truck comes in. I got the captain and his firefighter on 7 truck. I got the Mike Hodel, who normally drives 32s. He's on the hand line on 32s, and his firefighter, and I'm right behind him. And we get up to this top of this 3rd floor, and I mean, it is freaking hot, and you can't see a thing. And I'm just enough below the smoke where I didn't have to mask up, and I could talk on the radio. And I am screaming at John on this radio. We need to get this roof open. We got to get another truck in here and get this roof open. Well, and you get up on, guys were, trying to we finally mustered up enough to get up on his knees and poke a hole in the ceiling. And then we got in an argument about opening the line up or not, because we're going to have a ton of steam come back down on us. But it was getting bad, so you had to make a choice. And so we got Hodel talked into opening the line up, and thank God the water went over in the room that was going. And because the guys that got on the roof one of them blew their knee out, never got a hole in the roof. I can go on and on and on. This story just gets horrendously bad.
Oh.
I mean, I've never been so close to a flashover in my life.
Oh.
Okay. And I actually, and my chief was off for a couple more work days, and I finally had to get a hold of him when he got back in town. And I told him, I said, I will not work with John again. I said, I'm done. I'm put me off. That man's dangerous. He didn't. I tried to talk with him. He didn't do anything I asked. I said, I really felt like we were going to be done in on that one there. And we're a very aggressive department. We're real well known for interior firefighting, and it's a lot of fun when it goes well. It sucks when it goes bad. So that's part of that adrenaline thing,
Yeah.
And those are stories you don't tell much when you get home. I didn't tell the wife that for a long time on that one.
When you accumulate so many of those stories, some worse, some not as bad, if you're not telling your wife, who are you letting this out to make sure that you don't go completely bonkers?
Well, we do it amongst ourselves in the station. Okay. That's where that kitchen table and those meals of crew getting together is extremely important. I actually had a TV crew rode with me that was doing a show. I can't remember the name of it. It was Smoke and Fire or something. They were out of Canada, and they actually rode with me. This is when after I was a battalion chief's aide, I went up and drove 7 truck. And so they spent a few hours with me on the job one day, and we actually had to run a construction death down on the plaza. And so they couldn't get over how we decompressed after a call. Okay, because we were sitting there eating burgers and fries, okay, when the call came in. And you just take a paper towel, cover your plate, you hit the rigs, and you leave. So it's about 45 minutes or so before we come back, and we get back in the station. And we're going back, and we're slopping in ketchup, and we're talking about this guy who his glasses was embedded in his head, his femur was busted, laying on and bone fragments on the sidewalk. I mean, it was just one nasty scene. He was on a elevated platform that drove off a parking garage and dropped 4 stories into a alleyway. And it was nasty. And the pumper had to go back a couple hours later and wash down after they got the scene, all secured. And but they couldn't get over how we're sitting there talking about this, and we didn't let them down there and film any of it. We made them leave their camera stuff. We did escort them down to the scene so they got a quick look at what we were dealing with, after things were settled down. So we're back eating, and they just couldn't get over how we were decompressing and talking about it. And it's amongst us that understood, and that's the best way to decompress on these situations.
Eddy, tell me a love story. How do you and your wife meet, and how quickly are you guys like, hey, let's get married?
Wow, that's pretty interesting to say. She was a year behind me in high school, and so I knew who she was. And I was working at that service station, and she was actually dating a guy that was in my class. And she come by, and so I just kind of casual, hi, how you doing and stuff. But then we all went over to Kansas because you could drink at 18 in Kansas. So Kansas City, Missouri is on the line of Kansas. So you had Kansas City, Kansas, and Overland Park, and then you got the Missouri side. So we'd all run over to the Kansas side, and then there was disco clubs and stuff like that over there. So went to Pogo's over there on the Kansas side and run into her there at that place, and everybody, a lot of people we knew, and so we got to seeing each other, and then we started dating, and I don't know, I think she was. It just kind of became, 6-8 months later, I thought, this would be a great lifestyle, and what a great girl, and seemed like her family, and she had her head on fairly straight, and so we, of course, we're Catholic, I am, and you have to go through those classes, and so we go through these marriage classes. And this priest that's there, Frank Tierney was his name, and he told us we weren't compatible. So 44 years later, we're still not compatible,
Yeah,
I
right.
guess.
Wow. What year was what time frame are we looking at year-wise?
That was 1979.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a different world kind of back then, but we were party central at our house for a while, and all my buddies and friends, and I was hanging out at the dirt track and racing with them, and I mean it was like I said, it was quite an ordeal.
Is that where you get the nickname Fast Eddy, through dirt track racing?
No, more for on the streets. My buddy Dave Osborne hung that on me, and that I had this Chevy pickup that was pretty quick, and like I said, I mean, I was a nuisance to humanity with that truck. I mean, there was nothing I would do, and I stayed out of, believe it or not, I didn't get any tickets to speak of. I didn't get any tickets after I got on the fire department, and then they caught me running about 140 down the highway one Sunday morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
When do you have kids?
It was about 4 years after we were married. It was like, something was missing in our relationship, and we figured out it was probably time to start having children. So we had a boy, and Brandon's his name, and he ruined it for everybody else because that was it.
Yeah.
That kid was a handful, man. There's more stories. I first said he was going to be about 30 before he really got it in life, and I was wrong. It was about 37. But he just turned 40.
When you're now a parent and you look back at how your dad is parenting you, I would assume situations are a little different. What do you take from your dad, and then what did you have in your mind that if you were ever going to be a dad, like things that you would do different?
That's a tough question because me and my dad don't get along. Okay, we are on the outs.
Oh,
and is
that a long time?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah,
and it happened over my son, and he was about 14 years old 14 or 15 at that time when all this shakeup happened. And so me and the family had a split and it was over my parenting with my son. And he never had to deal with a child that had, to be on Ritalin and all kinds of medication and all those things. And so, I'm not going to rag on my dad here, but I really could do it,
sure.
But it's not worth it, but we're oil and water between me and him.
Holding your son aside then, as you look back at that, that's 26 years or whatever it is. If that was, 14, 15, you said he's just 40 now. So you're looking at quarter century of that.
Yeah.
Is that a big regret of your life that somehow you guys weren't able to patch it up, or he decided to take it a certain way that caused you to react the way you did?
Well, I spent, gosh, close to a year trying to keep that relationship together after we started having a problem. And it started affecting me in my family. It started affecting me in my work, all that stuff. And I said, you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family. And I said, it's time for me to have to go on and turn the page on this. Otherwise, I'm not going to let this affect my life. And to this day, I think I'm 1,000% better for it. There was some, because I had already started my business, at that time, and my brother tried to get in the middle of my business with another guy. That's, people know who he is in the barbecue community. And Traeger's, actually, their lawyer had to write some letters and, about cease and desist about things. So it really got kind of ugly about it. And we just, we're not going to, I was doing things the way you should do them. And they were trying to skirt around some laws. And it just never patched things up.
You're known for being the pellet guy. Where does barbecue even weave into your life, Eddie?
Fire department was a big part of that. Okay. Because about the time we built this smoker for this guy, that was about a year before I got on the fire department. And then I said, that looked like fun. I think I can throw me one of those things together, because after we built this smoker, I watched him go test it with 50 slabs of ribs, and they had a nice party. I'm going, that looked like a hell of a good time, and we were working in kitchens at the time in Kansas City. We were doing a stainless steel and kitchen work. I was working on my days off with my dad with his business and shop. And this is how I learned how the commercial smokers were built. Because we were in and out of the restaurants and barbecue places, and I worked on a bunch of J&R Oilers, not a lot of Southern Prides or Old Hickories. I had messed with them slightly, but we worked on almost all the Oilers in Kansas City back in that day. So that's where my experience came from, understanding how, and my passion for the commercial world was there. And of course, when I seen the pellet grill and I said, this solves everything in barbecue. And anyway, that's why Traeger's didn't know what to do with me, because I really wanted to be, I tried to mess around with the grills. They were freaking awful. I mean, they're just horrible.
Now, look, I think it's important now that we're at this stage of the Ed Maurin origin story. Like when you say the Traegers, so you're talking about the actual Traegers, like the people that founded this isn't the Traeger as we know it today, the corporate, publicly traded, blah, blah, blah.
No. This is the family.
This is the Traegers.
Family. Yeah, this is the family. Great people. Okay, I mean, they're as far as people goes, wonderful. They're very wonderful folks. But the equipment, I mean, I can't. The first cooker I got to play with, I mean, I caught it. It left it out in the rain. It got wet and clogged up the auger. It caught fire all the time. The thing was, it had the pan, the drip pan was welded in it, and so there was no drip pan. It was a pan that had lava rock in it. Okay, and that made a grease trap. And I mean, this thing, the way it was, they tried to mimic a gas grill is what they were trying to do. And of course, that's not the way we cook here in Kansas City. We cook. I was, already in competition barbecue. My first competition was with that neighbor I was talking about. We were under Dude's Barbecue, and that was in 1986. So now I'm in 1990. I'm 4 years later, and in my life and understanding, offset cooking and competition cooking and all. But one thing I did understand, that these pellet things are going to be something, because it solved all the problems in solid fuel. Is what the pellets did. It's just the form this thing was in was hideous, and it needed. And of course, remember, I'm working on commercial stuff, and I'm going, man, and that's in '93. That's when I put together my OG FE 100 in 1993 myself. And so I'm cooking. I'm the bad guy in the neighborhood in Kansas City. I mean, nobody liked me at all, because I'm cooking on these pellet things, and people are hating the pellets. I mean, that was, you think there's a love-hate relationship out there now. It was real bad back in the day. I was a guy you don't want to go talk and associate with, and other cooks weren't very, very chummy with me. And, it was an interesting time back in those days.
When do you make pit building a business? Or perhaps a better question would be, when are people starting to approach you? You've already bought in. You knew that this was going to be the way to go. You're going to start to make whatever format the Traeger was into something that worked better for you. But I would imagine you are onto something when people start to approach you and say, Eddie, make me one of these, or how can I get a pellet cooker too?
Yeah, that was going on a lot, especially when you start winning a lot of stuff, and you got the one-off nobody else has. It's I'm trying to think. It was probably 90. I bought my own first build. I bought my building that I made my shop in 1997. I went and got a home equity loan, and my dad I was working with him on my days off, but he was driving me crazy because he was wanting to do smaller projects, didn't want to do any bigger stuff. And I was tired of going down there and sitting around looking at him. Some days it was busy, some days you weren't. So he's great at doing repair. I wanted to manufacture things. And so 97 is when I bought my old fire station. And then I was able to do the big stuff that Shear Truck Company and Knapheide and those people were wanting done. And man, I tell you what, it was game on. When I bought that building, I was going balls to the wall. So but not in barbecue.
Yeah,
I was doing custom fabricating work. Okay, In 98's when I built the first cooker for sale, when I was, getting pressured to people wanting what I had. And so it was 1998 when that happened.
Is that the FE cooker?
Yeah, it was FE, and I called it the 100.
Yep.
And reason why is because it was based on a Traeger 100. I used that as a base. So I had a friend who they were a distributor for Traeger, and I'd cut them up and remanufacture them. So I took a $500 grill and I made it into a $2,700 cooker. Is what I did. I was like Carroll Shelby was with Ford.
And weren't you?
So, and they didn't know what to do with me.
You were paying Traeger a royalty too for every cooker too, right?
No, first I was buying pits. Okay, I was buying grills, and then after that, then I talked to Randy. I said, "Look, can you sell these to me without all the paint and all the parts and stuff I'm throwing away?" And well, yeah, I can do that. I said, that'll save me a whole lot of time and effort, And so that went on for a little bit. And then it was like, well, how about just a royalty, And he said, yeah, we can do that too. So then we worked on a royalty kind of thing. And instead of, the other way, it saved a whole bunch of shipping and making stuff from scratch too. So it was an evolution in starting it and how it all went together. But learning all the attributes about it it's still a learning process to today. I mean, just like this article, I still learning about different things and the aspects of the pellet world, pellet cooking world, pellet equipment, how it's designed, what it does, airflow. I mean, you never, ever, ever, we're still not to where we're great, but I mean, I still think there's always, we're getting ready we're testing other industries with this now.
If you look back, I mentioned it in the first hour, the biggest names in competition barbecue were using the FE cooker, whether they wanted to admit it or not. I have Darren Worth on tape from a Best Moments of 2 weeks ago from back in 2009, I think it was, where he said that he was using a pair of Weber Smoky Mountains and he had an FE cooker. This is what many consider to be the greatest competition cook, at least in KCBS, if not of all time across all sanctioning bodies, saying that he had an FE cooker. Maybe he doesn't use one now, but he had one. Many folks had an FE cooker. When did you realize that the FE cooker was really going to start to take the world by storm?
2000, probably when my second year with Cook Shack. In 2002, November 2002, Cook Shack started manufacturing for me.
Because it was too big of a project for you, right? Like you wanted to get into some serious quantity.
I had some job shops around town that were making parts and pieces for me. Okay. And so I was having stuff done out, but my whole goal, remember, my life's in commercial and listings. I want listings. I wanted to be UL listed. I wanted to be NSF listed. I wanted to be a real player in the commercial industry. That was my whole direction. And but I was needing manufacturing, and had a mutual friend that knew Stuart Powell from Cook Shack, and he called Stuart for me, and I took a cooker down to him. Now, we'd seen each other at some trade shows. I mean, I was even at the point at that time I had big, rotisseries I was doing myself, and I would see these guys, and I got to know them at trade shows. And so he says, if you make a couple changes on it, we'll manufacture for you. And every month I was on a monthly build schedule, and I was out selling what they were building. And in 2004, I got the phone call. Well, look, we want to get more involved with you. So I worked a marketing and manufacturing agreement with them, and we still have one to today. And it's been a wonderful marriage between the two of us. It's been fantastic. And reason why I've been gone the last 3 days, we were doing rep training, and I had reps from Europe and South America and all down there, and we were doing training, and it's so much fun. It's just I'm having the time of my life, actually.
How have the cookers that you've created evolved over the last 15 years?
We're just now doing an upgrade on the rotisseries, and I think we've developed some airflow that actually Southern Pride copied us, which is great. I mean, that's it's pretty cool when your competitors on our cabinet smoker, and now we've integrating some of that airflow design into the rotisserie, and it's and then it controls. You know, the fireboard guys were hooked up with Burnt Finger at the Royal.
Yep.
And you can go to their website and you can see they've got a tracker that they did on my FEC 500 when they were cooking for their party down there. And Megan tells me, says they couldn't get over how the overnight cook on that was a flat line. They'd never seen such a thing on an automated pit being just a frickin' flat line, no up or down till the doors were opened. And he said it was just a flat line, and
wow.
they couldn't get over how that was, and it's fun to innovate, and I just can't tell you, and I can't speak of what's coming down the pipe, but I'm really jonesing for our next step in what we're going to do. And pizza's great. I mean, I have a pizza unit too now. I love the pizza stuff, but I think we're getting ready to really make some change. And also too, thank God, and you had this discussion a little bit, we're getting ready to do a whole lot more marketing. People don't even really realize who we are anymore. So we're getting ready to make that change, hopefully, here. We're gonna do some stuff different.
Are you concerned or continually trying to effort at leaving a specific legacy?
I'll let that handle itself. I ain't concerned about it. I'll tell you what, legacy, off-road racing, I did this as a kid, and going back to off-road racing for me was a personal, very, very personal. I felt like that was part of my life. In 1983, I had to hang on the shelf, and because I was good. I was very good at it. And man, when I went back at it in 2009 and, and getting my feet back under me with it. And then I've won a lot of stuff in off-road racing too. And I've done real well for a guy from the Midwest.
Are you more successful at barbecue pit making or off-road racing?
I'll definitely barbecue pit making. The off-road world's huge. I mean, there's different segments of it. I've got to set in some of the top-notch cars and got to drive some of them. But that saying about when you're going to bury, I want to go sliding in that box sideways. Okay, I mean that's that. To me, that's that adrenaline junkie. There's nothing there. It's hard to explain. It's a drug. Okay. It's the junkie drug. And I love it. So, but my body's about done. So I'm coming back, and I'm going to start paying a whole lot more attention to the things in barbecue that I'm so glad I got to go do that before I got too old. Okay. And you have to be self-funded to be able to do it too. It's not, there's not money out there to come do it. Yeah. All these guys that I race against, a lot of them, they're all millionaires and some billionaires too. And you're out there banging wheels with big guys.
Wow. Do you have a race coming up?
I just entered the NORA 1000, which will be coming up at the end of April. I've won that race twice in the Challenger era. And so I don't know exactly which vehicle or what we're going to run down there yet, because I'm involved with a guy out of Kansas City, Bueller Motorsports. He's got a trophy truck. He's got a new pre-runner. I've got a new Robbie Gordon car supposed to show up any day. It's a Speed UTV. That is the top of the line UTV that's out on the marketplace, and I may run it in the stock class, possibly. So that's yet to be determined. But I did enter. It's a 1,300-mile race on 6-day format.
Wow. Eddy, you have said it all. If you didn't know Ed Maurin before, you've gotten the start to finish, or the start to where we are now, not a finish, of course, because he's obviously very active. Going to be getting more into the barbecue side again. But wow, I mean, I thought I knew a lot about you, but you've revealed a number of things here that perhaps a lot of folks that know you maybe didn't know. So I appreciate your openness, your willingness to share. And really, when a guest like you, an icon in the industry, is going to come in here and be completely vulnerable and talk about all the things that you did, this is what makes the origin stories of the Guest Hall of Fame members so popular, to get such a real interview and get all this extra insight that people didn't know. So I appreciate you taking the time to do this tonight. But more importantly than that, since 2007, you're really one of the oldest folks that continue to recur on the show and give takes on the industry. And it's been a true pleasure knowing you all these years and being able to stay in touch. I can't thank you enough, and I appreciate everything you've ever done for me and the show.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that, Greg. And you're like I said, you've setting a mark out there for barbecue podcasts. That's for damn sure. And then I love your passion, and keep it up. And I look forward, to have some more conversations with you, because there's a whole lot of holes in that story I gave you. But also when we our development stuff, I'll keep you abreast when we go to announce something coming up, because the new stuff I'm thinking about and we're working on, even going through my mind just sends chills up my back what we possibly could do. So, and that's the way I used to be in barbecue back when I was thinking about being commercial and before Cook Shack hooked up. It keep me up at night thinking about what it would do to the industry. And what I think we can do to this other industry, I think is more, could morph what we're doing today. So
I'm looking forward to it. You keep me in the loop. We'll have you back on. Absolutely.
All right. Thanks for everything, Greg.
All right. Thanks, Eddy.
Take care.
Fast Eddy right there, legends. 2023 Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Famer. And if you didn't know anything about him, you know a lot more about him. And if you knew him cursorily, you certainly have a better understanding of where he came from, what he's been through, and how, of course, he's gotten to where he is today, both from a live fire sense, barbecue, pit building, and all that. And who knew he was such an accomplished racer? Yeah, how about that? Right, so we are over into the second hour, but no problems there. We're going to play a little catch-up here. Glad to see through the instant chat for the folks that hung with me tonight, how much you enjoyed it, getting to know this. A lot of people being able to run a similar life experience as Eddy regaled us with here this evening. Before we go, we talk to you about Franklin's Barbecue Pits. What do you need to know about Franklin's Barbecue Pits? They're on sale, or, as we say in the business, on promotion. Franklin has never had a sale, may never do it again. So get in on this action right now if you want to save $400 between now and 3 weeks from now, which is the end of the year. You go to the Franklin Barbecue website, franklinbbqpits.com, or you go to a certified Franklin Barbecue Pit dealer, and you say, hook me up with the Barbecue Central Show promotion. I want 400 schmackers off that sexy iron and steel grill, please. Immediately, if not sooner. Again, $400 off if you go to franklinbbqpit.com, the website, Or if you go to a certified dealer near you, doesn't matter, online or in person, $400 off. Primarily made of 5/16 and 1/4-inch thick American-made steel. Anything that sees heat, engineered to be incredibly solid and should last at least 100 years or more if cared for properly. The thickness of the steel guarantees professional-grade heat retention, which is a critical component to making great barbecue, all things that we know. And of course, these are made to be somewhat of a replica or a new styling off of the legendary pits that he has in his restaurants. You get to see the patina, you get to see the way he wants the craftsmanship to be shown, welds, get your own numbered nameplate, all that stuff. Yeah. Again, $400 off. Doesn't get any better than that, doesn't get any cheaper than that for a Franklin barbecue pit. As we near the end of the year, you only have between now and the end of the year to take advantage of $400. Again, do it online, franklinbbqpits.com, or to certified dealer. Tell them you want the $400 off the retail discount. Let's go. We're back to wrap the show right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Craig Rempe.
All right, welcome back, and we thank Ed Maurin for joining us last segment. Pelletcooker.com is his website, actually. I meant to mention that when we were talking to him. This portion of the show being brought to you by Aladino. I am a huge fan, of course, of Aladino. JRE Tobacco is the place that's growing all these great tobaccos. I've been doling out the Aladino Classic for sampling. We have a new month, of course, in December, so I'll be getting a new box of cigars from Aladino. So if you want to get in on it early, if you're like, hey, I'm a big fan of JRE, love the Aladino line, doesn't matter, whatever they're going to send you, I know I want to try them. Shoot me an email now. We'll start building the queue, and then as soon as I get the new box, I'll send you out a pair. I say always best to smoke a cigar twice so you can make your decision on if you like it or not. Maybe you got a bum run. Maybe they're not holding it right. Who knows? But know this. A, you're getting them directly from the manufacturer. They're coming to me. I have a properly running humidor, great environment. So by the time you get them, they're going to be wonderful. And then you can tell me how much you like them or not. I'm trying blends made with Corojo and Habano right now with the classics, but you know I love the Reservas, and you can find out more about all of their products, jretobacco.com, to find a retailer near you. And again, if you want to get in line early on the samples for the new cigars this month from Aladino, JRE Tobacco, shoot me an email, subject line JRE Tobacco, and then we'll make sure that once the new box hits, we'll start sending them out to you so you can try them on. Why not? Sounds great. All right, let's go ahead and get out of here all the way back in the first hour. We had a joint segment. How great was that, by the way? We don't want Eddy's segment to overshadow the rest of the show, although hard not to. Malcolm Reed and Heath Ryle in the same segment, talking about everything that's happening in the city of Memphis as we come up to Memphis in May this year. Not this year, 2024. If you missed it, podcast tomorrow, Wednesday, so you can catch up very quickly there. After Malcolm and Heath, Mike Lang showed up for his last quarterly appearance in 2023. He told me he's in for 2024 for quarterly appearances, so we're looking forward to that already. And then the second hour, all Fast Eddy, all the time, the origin story of Ed Maurin. Pelletcooker.com, his website. That podcast, second hour, will be out on Thursday. Don't forget the best of this coming Friday has John Marcus. Big show playing for you next week. We have another origin story. Tim Shear, the origin story of collegiate basketball player, tallest man in barbecue, Blues Hog, Gateway Drum Smokers, Marble Ridge, beef and pork farms. It's going to be a great origin story. 2 weeks, plus Meathead, plus Robert Moss. Sounds great. How do I always leave you? September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Bye-bye.
It's Sam the Cooking Guy, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Some call him a fool, some even call him a douchebag. But I say Greg Rempe is the greatest thing to happen to barbecue since caveman.